My name is Helen Alexis Yonov, and I am a writer, director, producer. And I just did the short film, The Gesture and the Word, which is a 22-minute short film that was shot in Los Angeles. And it stars James Michael Tyler as Gilbert, Paul Dooley as Mr. Rostal, Nicola Liberté as Eloise, Roxanne Mesquita as Aurore, and Andrew Creer as Eric. Flowers are such an important part of the movie. It's not just a beautiful detail, a visual motif, I guess you could say. It has a deeper meaning. My friend Nico, who has a flower cart, knows the meaning of every single flower. And so that made me think, what if Eloise was able to have an understanding of people through flowers? And so she's able to create bouquets for people that have a meaning, because in the Victorian era, like she says, a bouquet can be filled with 5-6 different flowers that have an actual message to the person that is intended to have it, the person that this person's in love with. Filmmaking is not a solitary creative art form. You have other people with you. The important thing that I think makes me a strong director is I surround myself with people that know their craft so well. One of these people is Matt Rogers, my cinematographer. I work closely with him. I've worked on 4 different projects with him, and he is always there, able to tell me what would best execute my vision. And one of those things is the choice of equipment, like the Alexa Mini and the Cooke anamorphic prime lenses. These were very important choices, especially our Cooke lenses, because it gave that beautiful wide look that encompassed much more of the room than other ratios would give us. Also, the choice of color. We worked with an amazing colorist, and Matt and I sat side by side, making sure that his expertise and my expertise worked together to make sure it came out to be the best possible rendition of what is in my mind. I think it's also important to not just be a dictator on set. It's very important to listen to the people around you, like with my cinematographer, Matt Rogers, but I also work and have worked with a very talented producer, Andrea Fellers, who I've worked with off and on throughout the last 12 years. Her ability to get a cast and crew together, her ability to pull together the best people to support me is one of her greatest qualities. My production designer, Anna Losby, she has the ability to also pull together my vision with absolute attention to detail. Anna was able to pull together 9 locations in one location. Actually, 10 locations in one location. One of our houses that we had in the Hollywood Hills was the location for 9 different countries. We had everywhere from Malaysia, Japan, India, Morocco, Turkey, Russia, Spain, Portugal, and China. We also had the interior of the house as Gilbert's apartment. Travel is a very important part of the movie. Eric writes postcards, homemade postcards that he draws to his girlfriend Aurore, which is what Gilbert is reading. And it's their love affair that he lives vicariously through by reading these postcards. I'm proud of this because I drew all the postcards. And that is a huge part of filmmaking for me, is the different art forms that go into filmmaking. Drawing, painting, costumes, working with my costume designer, Matthew, making sure these details are perfect, but also music and working with our composer, Craig Grishey, on the perfect music for the movie, or Prince Board, whose band Parker Lane was our end credits. Choosing these things are very important because they have to be spot on. I've been working with Rebecca Louisa Smith and Patricia Chica on the submission, on the film submissions to film festivals. Rebecca is the film doctor, and Patricia has Chica PR. For me, it's been very important to have these women on my team because the film festival circuit is so daunting. I've spoken to many people about how the positivity of the movie has come at a time where people need the levity of a good story about love and kindness and thoughtfulness and the support people have for each other. And so one of the things I'm doing right now is writing The Gesture and the Word as a feature film. That's interesting because now it's about expanding on a 22-minute idea and doing an hour plus and getting people to enjoy it and connect to it in the same way, and hopefully a better way. One of the other stories that I'm working on right now is The Time of the Wolves. In 2015, I was in Paris during the terror attacks at the Bataclan, at the Stade de France, and at several of the other cafes around the 11th arrondissement of Paris. I was in a pub, my friend's pub, the Green Goose, and we were locked in around the corner from the Comptoir Voltaire, and where one of the men had gone in. And that experience will always stay with me. And so one of the things I'd like to do is to do a film not about that night, but about the experiences that we had that night, and in the hours, days, weeks, and months after an attack, and how people connect with each other, gravitate towards one another, love one another. I think these grand topics can also be paired with the way people treat each other in a world that, frankly, is scary and mean at times. I'm a woman of many ideas. And so some of the other ideas that I've had that I've been working on, one is my father's documentary, In the Shadow of the Storm. My father was a naval diplomat who was the first naval attaché to Russia after the coup d'etat of 1991 and had been the last naval attaché to the Soviet Union. He had come from Latvia as a refugee to America in 1948, I believe, and I want to trace his life through his political and military career and how it got him back to the former Soviet Union, or the Soviet Union at the time, and how he went to find his family in Latvia. What's so interesting is that he hadn't spoken to his family for over 40 years and accidentally ran into a man on a train who reconnected him with his family. I also, while living in Paris, wrote The Burden of Light, which I'm turning into a novel, which is also a film about love and connection in Paris, and how the past and the present can come together to show people that love can conquer all. I came to Los Angeles in, I believe it was 2002, after I graduated from Emerson College in Boston. And I was very lucky. I got my first production assistant gig on Seabiscuit. I believe that was Gary Ross, the director. And I had never PA'd before in my life, except on smaller projects. I mean, little documentaries, little indie films in Boston, but nothing like Seabiscuit. I was scared. And I think for young filmmakers out there that are trying to get into this business, you're going to be scared. You're going to be like, I don't know anything. And I didn't know anything that day. I walked onto set. We were opening up Santa Anita Racetrack as they were coming in from Kentucky and Tennessee. And within 30 minutes, my AD goes, "You've never done this before, have you?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And I got 2 days that I was able to prove myself. And 5 years later, I decided that PAing wasn't the sort of thing I wanted to do. So I wanted to focus on filmmaking. And that's another thing about being a filmmaker is, yes, you pay your dues. I paid my dues as a production assistant and non-union AD. I did grueling days. Sometimes I did 20-hour days, and those were difficult. And sometimes you get up in the morning and you put your feet on the ground and the pain shoots through your legs and your feet, and you go, how am I going to do this? But the love of your craft gets you through. And so at 25 years old, I decided I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to jump and I'm going to be a filmmaker. The future of filmmaking. That's an interesting topic because I got into this industry and it was pretty much the same as it had been for many, many decades. Technology changes, but it was still the same sort of production. Post-production was changing, cameras were changing, film was going out the window, but we always knew that the progress was something we could handle. Now with the pandemic, don't be afraid, because look at it as a really exciting future. When we are able to get back to filmmaking, we're going to get back to the way things were, but this is a time where you can start thinking, what can I do differently? The remote project, the remote series that my friend did is called Flimsy, which will be out very, very soon. So you can see how people are making series and movies in the pandemic time. As a young female filmmaker who started out as a production assistant and has been on over 20 major movies as a production assistant. It's a hard topic, but the current state of the Me Too movement needs to keep going. And as a young woman who's been on all these sets, I've experienced some very uncomfortable situations. I've been spoken to in ways that have made me leave set. I've actually handed in my walkie and walked off several times. It's our job to make sure that the movements like the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter movement stay. And it's okay if they come in and out like the tide. Sometimes one movement's going to have to be far more loud than the other. And when that has traction, we're able to bring back the other movements. On set, men and women have to treat each other right. And women can sexually harass men. And that is not okay. We have to make sure that we call out people that we see doing things that are wrong. We need to support those people that are in the place to be able to bring us up, as well as the people that are looking for the chances and opportunities that aren't usually there for them. I would love investors to turn around and look at some of the movies that are heartfelt, that are about relationships, that are about serious topics, that are about other cultures. Don't be afraid of different perspectives. Don't think that these different perspectives aren't going to make money because they haven't been tried and true. You haven't given them the opportunities to prove themselves. There's a place for every type of movie out there. There's a place for the big tentpole summer blockbusters. There's also a place for the smaller films. And these smaller films might surprise you.